Oi, hello, bonjour, Annie. My name is Avery McMillan, and I am with the Fringe North Festival production team this season, and I am happy to be back on our weekly roundtable. We'll be doing these every Thursday until the festival begins on August 16th, which is only 20 days away. So not many roundtables left. I'm excited to be part of this special staff roundtable about the theme is Fringe North FAQs, where we'll be talking about the things you might want to know about the festival. So welcome everyone. Let's all start by going around and introducing ourselves and what we do at Fringe North. Tova, if you'd like to start.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Tova Arbus. My pronouns are she, her. I am a theater producer and artist here in Sault Ste. Marie. I am currently holding the position of president with the Fringe North. I am also supporting marketing in this role as well and community engagement. And I am one of the co-founders. So it was a group of us that got to start things off here, and I will talk about that in a few minutes. But it's really great to be here, and I sure appreciate it, and would love to pass it on over to Caitlin.
Hi, everyone. So glad to be here today. I'm Caitlin. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the interim artistic producer at Fringe North for this season. And I'll pass to Garrett.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, thanks so much. I'm so happy to be doing this one. Very exciting. My name is Garrett Ryan. Pronouns are he, him. I'm with Artist Relations at Fringe North this season. I'll pass it back to you, Avery.
Thanks, Garrett. I'm going to start off with a very broad general question, and I'd like to hear from each of you like what the first thing is that comes to mind when I say, what is Fringe North? You go the same order, that might work.
Sure, great, Avery. Okay, so for me, Fringe North is kind of two parallel concepts, if you will. It's obviously our festival that happens every summer. There are several kind of prongs of that we try to make sure are supporting artists and generating community art across the region and in Sault Ste. Marie. But it's also a concept. And that might be a bit nebulous for us to talk about here, but I'll try to summarize it. For me, this concept of Fringe North is the idea that we are a link in a chain that connects Northern Ontario artists to each other, to the rest of the province, the nation, and the world. We're really privileged to be working in the place that we are, in a really unique space here on, in Boating, on Anishinaabe territory, but also at a cross point between Michigan and Ontario, a really important center to the Cross Canada Highway. And I think that what we have here is a real opportunity to take this idea of being a bridge and a catalyst for artists in the North to have safe spaces, safe professional spaces to do their good work. And when I talk about it as a concept, I'm talking about it from kind of this dual idea that we hold space for artists to create and present in, but we also provocate artists into creating, inviting folks to tell stories in their way, offering opportunities to investigate creation in a way that maybe they haven't thought about before, or a way that they've thought about but didn't know what to do with, and all the points in between. And I think for me, those are the really important anchor points in the work that we're doing.
Yeah, I think I thought of your question a little bit differently than that when you first asked it, because I thought like buzzwords of like what first comes to mind. So I thought like excitement, family, fun, and like those kinds of things came to mind at first. But I think like ultimately with Fringe, I think it's like the idea for me at the core that arts education piece of everybody is an artist and everybody has a way to express it. So looking at the different ways that we may not traditionally think of as like the way to share your story and to get your art piece across, and also like the processing that comes with that, both for audiences and for artists as well. So art has like a way to process and explore, and art with like meaning and purpose and passion. So those are the things that come to mind for me when I first think of Fringe, and those like fun buzzwords like family and just like passion from the team as well. Think of like those different kinds of things.
Yeah, I guess I can it's hard to follow both of those, but from my position in artist relations, and also as someone who first got in contact with Fringe North as an artist, um, Fringe North to me, it really is like a glimmer of hope for artists that might not have an opportunity otherwise to pursue their art. As Caitlin said, there are plenty of people who have stories to tell and don't have the chance to do so. And in my position, I'm so grateful to be able to speak with many artists that share similar stories of, you know, having a story to tell and having no idea how to tell it, and their fears are eased when they first come into the festival, and we are able to have a conversation about this. We are we're a non-judgmental space that is here to just like give people the opportunity to tell their story, and I don't see a lot of that happening outside of Fringe North and other similar kind of fringe festivals in the North. It's like there's a small level of kind of professional touring theater and professional arts, various shows and things like that, and then for people that want to get their foot in the door, there's not a lot else. So for me, it was that chance to have a festival that believed in the story that I wanted to tell, and I think we are that for so many other artists as well. And I'll pass it back to Avery.
Yeah, well said, everyone. I think I've definitely felt all those things as like an artist, a patron, and now working with Fringe North, and I think it's very exciting. I think while one of our catchphrases or like key term marketing phrases has been expect the unexpected, what kind of art and artist will you find at Fringe North? So what can you typically find or expect at the festival?
Really, I think it's important to understand about fringe festivals in general that while there is an ongoing strategy, if you will, to the shape of the festival, each festival is unique because fringe festivals set a mandate, and this is a global mandate, or at least a North American one, where it's about accessibility for artists. And so there are really two ways to get involved with the fringe. You apply, and it's either through a lottery or first come, first served. And that's what we do here at Fringe North. And that means that every year, the artists who are coming are different, and we can expect new and exciting things from them. So Fringe North has really evolved into a multi-arts festival because we just recognize that there's so much vibrant creativity. Now, the roots of Fringe are in theater, but there's so many other interesting and incredible ways that people are artistically telling their stories about themselves, the spaces they're in, their communities, their region, their roots. And we decided to expand what we were offering and invite people in with the hopes that what it would do is create these collaborations and cross connection with community. So while our anchor point is in theater, we have music, dance, visual arts represented. We have a really vibrant digital arts side of the festival, which you can see stuff that feels like a film, stuff that feels like theater on your screen, and a whole bunch of creativity in between. We have burlesque and drag performance joining us this year. We have some kind of creative storytelling, and I believe some puppetry. We have the gamut. So there's all kinds of really new and delightful opportunities for artists. And that means expect the unexpected for audiences. And Fringes often will fly that flag as a collective, because that's really the essence of what Fringe is this place for creativity to push the boundaries, for people to try something new and different and unexpected. And we really try very hard to hold all the space we can for folks coming in under that, broad canvas of being an artist, and allowing them to just do what they want in the way that they want to do it in professional supported spaces.
Yeah, I think what's fun about that phrase too is that no, like we do provide a lot of our booklet will be coming out soon with information about what each show is. But no matter how much you like read, like you can build up a framework in your mind of what a show is going to be like, and until you're actually there, you don't actually know what you're going to be fully engaging in as well. So it's not just across performances, but even within performances, and just like I guess one of the great things about live performances, which doesn't show up as much on the digital side, but when you're live, you don't know like some of the funniest moments can be something that, you know, a child in the audience mentions, and you just don't know what's going to happen and how that's going to shape what's happening on stage. So that like very it's community built, and that includes you as a patron in the audience and how it all comes together in the moment. And that's one of the things that I love about theater is you can never go to the same show twice because it's always a different audience. People are going to laugh at different points. People are going to you know, different things are going to happen, different expressions from audience or artists up on stage in different performances. So it's you can never see it too many times. And I would encourage you, because this year we are going to have performances that are showing more than once. So if you really like a performance, go back to it and see it again.
Yeah, this isn't necessarily true of every artist that comes to participate in Fringe festivals in general, Fringe North specifically. But I often think of the work that we have here as being very like countercultural or you know, outside of the norm of what you'll typically see in theater or in music or in any kind of storytelling or anything else. Um, the first show that I did as an artist in a Fringe festival was a show about um, someone stranded in Antarctica developing a relationship with a dead penguin. That's not a show that's ever going to get funding. But it is a show that I can write with my friends because it's a story that I for one reason or the other, feel passionate about telling, and it's a story that we can bring up and showcase at a Fringe festival. So I really believe if you're like a lover of pure art, like completely just like art from the artist, it's not necessarily going to be as polished as like a show you're going to see at Mervish. But it's so authentic to the storyteller. Like you're not going through all these levels of bureaucracy to get it up onto the stage. It's just it's you and them, and you're experiencing the story they want to tell. So that's if you're a lover of art, then you're going to really enjoy coming to the festival. That's how I see it.
Yeah, so I guess you can expect many different shows, all of them excellent and part of the festival, and which will be held at the Sault Ste. Marie Museum, August 16th to 20th. With that question, we got one little question on our little Instagram question button on the Instagram stories. If you do not already, you can follow Fringe North on social media to get all of our little content and to hear more about the festival. The question is, other than the live performances, what fun things will be happening at the festival?
We are trying to make sure that there's a little something for everyone at the festival. And it's been a unique process for us because we've been around for several years now, but COVID, as with many arts organizations, really made us kind of get small, get intentional, think about what we were really doing. And so we're growing. And I think this is going to be our biggest summer yet since our return from COVID, and maybe even compared to some of those earlier festivals. So we're trying to expand what people can come and do. So we have a licensed refreshment tent with our good friends, Brewers Jansen, coming and providing food and beverages for us. Where that will also house our digital screen. So if you don't want to watch from home, you want to come to the festival, but digital is your game, you can still come and watch it in a great social setting. It's the place to engage, to meet other artists, to find out what shows are good or not good or worth seeing or any of those things. And really at the Fringe, there always is the show within a show, which is that audience connection, audience to artist connection. And so that'll be a big piece of the other things that are happening at Fringe for us this year. Adjacent to that space, so that's housed in our outdoor tent, our licensed refreshments area and digital viewing area. And then we have a cabaret tent where there will be some kind of music and DJ sets, burlesque entertainment, and our folks who kind of fall under the tier of buskers, although this will be a very non-traditional busker, and I think people will be surprised by what this artist is going to bring. We have a few great community partners who will be on board, other arts organizations and arts supporting organizations who will be there with different activities. And of course, we have our Fringe Fun Zone where folks can come, families, young folks, young at heart folks, anybody who wants to come and play. And that will just be up over our weekend portion of the festival where people can come and participate in community engaged art projects, different playful activities like puppetry and costumes, of course, because theater, and also some different, we're hoping for some lawn games and that sort of thing. Because what we're trying to create is that vibe. You want to come to Fringe, you want to stay at Fringe, and you want to play with us all day. And inside the museum, we're going to have 3 fabulous venues, and that's where our in-person performances will be happening. And I think, folks, if you frequent the museum, you will be surprised by what we do with those spaces. And I've heard from many, when you walk into that space and you see it and you think, gee, is this a theater space? And then we transform it the week of festival. So if for no other reason than to be pleasantly surprised by a very unique theater space, come on down. But there's a little something for everyone. You can tour all of our visual artist pop-up galleries. You can take advantage of free admission to the museum and check out the way that the museum team, they are an incredible bunch, okay? And they tell really interesting stories in their own right. And if you think about it under that artist lens, they're kind of telling the original stories of the stories that bring us to a place like Fringe. So there is lots to do. There's going to be stuff happening all the time, and we really encourage that folks check out our program, take a chance on something that maybe they don't know what it is, or they think that might not be for me. Come anyways, because that's the point of Fringe. Come to Fringe, see it all, stay with us all day, and check out everything these artists have to offer. That's where the Fringe energy comes from, and we invite you all to just come and hang out with us the whole time.
Yeah, I would just add to that I think we've worked really hard. I don't want to give too much away with just what's going on, but with the different activities that will be in that like stay and play location, I think there's really is going to be something for everyone in terms of if you're a kinesthetic person, there's going to be things that are hands-on. If you're more of an observer, there's going to be things that you can watch and engage with. And if you're more of just someone who likes to like sit in the corner and listen, like there is something for whatever kind of learning style or engagement style that you prefer and that your preference is. We have really been trying to hit like all the different boxes with that. So please come out and enjoy those different experiences.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I think that was both of those were great summaries, but just to say that for any artists that are listening right now, the performance is only one, not small part, it's a big part of what Fringe is, but it is only one part of what Fringe is. Like the festival entire is an experience that you want to be a part of. So I just like I can't express how meaningful it's been at other festivals that I've been at and at Fringe North, like getting involved in the social aspect of things. It really heightens the entire festival experience. So please do consider, if you're at all, hesitant, you just want to do your show and get out, like try, dipping your toes in a little bit and maybe come out to one thing, kind of see what's going on. I promise, like Caitlin said, there's something for everyone. You're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, definitely. I think given especially that our festival is relatively short compared to others that run like a few weeks, just the 5 days and one location, you could just see show after show after show for the whole weekend, and I think it could be really fun. And then if you're not in the Sioux, uh, We have digital content with like performances that are on demand as well as live streams. So even joining at a distance, which is especially great in Northern Ontario, where everything is very far away from each other. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the history of fringe festivals and where they originated. Why is it called a fringe festival? What is this word? And whenever I say it, people are like, what are you talking about? What is your job? Um, and yeah, so what do fringes look like beyond Fringe North for those who don't know? Uh, yeah.
Okay, so this feels like a me question here. So Garrett and Caitlin, if you don't mind, I'll tell our little story here. So fringe festivals are exactly what they sound like. Festivals that developed to house the art that was happening on the edges of things. So I'll give you a little history lesson. The very first Fringe happened, and this part for me feels really incredible. The first one happened in the city of Edinburgh, Scotland in 1947. Okay, that's a long time ago. People think about Fringe and it feels like this new concept because it's so known but unknown, but there's deep roots here. So 1947, 8 theater groups turned up. They were having an international festival in Edinburgh, okay? And what they were trying to do was enrich the European cultural life, but it meant that a lot of artists were left out. And so these 8 theater groups said, hold on a second. Just because you don't appreciate what we're trying to do doesn't make it not valid. So they showed up at this festival anyways and kind of ran their own, they staged their shows kind of at the edges of this other festival on the fringes. And so that really took hold and artists really responded to that, especially artists who might be looked at as very unique, kind of quirky, doing something really radical or politically charged or controversial or just really different for folks. And it was something that grew momentum as artists who were emerging or exploring or working in a discipline that wasn't established yet found a home. So the Edinburgh Festival really took off. Today, it's really the granddaddy of the fringe festivals. People come from all over the world and the whole city transforms. So that was 1947. Fast forward 20 years later, Brighton Fringe began in England, and it just went on from there. Adelaide Fringe picked up the reins in the 1970s, and now it just has really snowballed. Hundreds of cities have taken this call and continued with the momentum. Vancouver Fringe was the first Canadian one in 1958. The first really big one in Canada was Edmonton Fringe in 1982. In Ontario, the biggest one is Toronto, 1989. So you can see that the momentum really began to accelerate. So all of those folks have joined in, and today there are approximately 300 fringes that happen worldwide around the globe, happening in all kinds of different languages, in different places, bringing artists from all over the place. There are artists that only fringe, and they travel the world going fringe festival to fringe festival to fringe festival. Excuse me. There are audiences. 19 million people turn out to fringe festivals every year, and that number grows exponentially year after year as this gains traction. And that number, that 300 number, it doesn't include fringes that have popped up and then for whatever reason have had to close their doors. There used to be one in Sudbury. There was one in Thunder Bay. Today, Fringe North is one of 2 fringe festivals in Northern Ontario, the other one being the really fantastic On the Edge Fringe over in North Bay, our lovely sister fringe over there. But it's a place for artists to really find themselves and try something different. I worked with Toronto Fringe for a while, and I've seen so many incredible performances where maybe they get up and it's a new script that they're working and they just want to try it for the first time. Maybe it's something that has never been done and there's no space for it somewhere on a main stage. Maybe it's something that most people would think about it and think, well, that's not really theater. And I'm thinking about a show that I attended where it was somebody, I don't know if this would fly today, this was like 15 years ago. This guy rented like a 12-seater van, and you showed up at the spot with your ticket and you got in his van and he drove around downtown Toronto and he told stories about Toronto and its history. And then he dropped you off and picked up a new group. And that was the show. How is for somebody thinking about it through a Broadway lens, how is that theater? But we're telling our stories. And isn't that what theater is? Isn't that what art is? And so those connections, I think, and the desire to dig deep and just reveal true authentic selves is what has driven Fringe to grow to the beast that it is today. And it's really exciting to be part of that movement for us up here in Sault Ste. Marie. I was part of the co-founding team for Fringe here. And part of the reason that I opened my mouth and started looking for some folks to do this was because when I worked at Toronto Fringe and I would talk to audiences who were frequent Fringers, traveled across Canada going to festivals, artists who were traveling, everyone would say to me, oh yeah, I know where Sault Ste. Marie is. I stopped there, I stayed there, I went through there on my way to XYZ other Fringe. So all the vibrant creativity here in Sault Ste. Marie, plus this massive movement of space held for artists who normally don't have space held for them for whatever reason, is a really beautiful mix. And now we get to join that worldwide movement of these 300 Fringe festivals that happen all over the world. And I'm super proud that we have one here in the Soo. I think that the artistry that happens in Northern Ontario deserves to be celebrated. And I'm really grateful that we have the opportunity to support that in its growth and recognition.
Yeah, I think, oh, sorry, did you have more, Tala? I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay. I think an important part of Fringe festivals as well is that there's always a way to get involved. So I think of this in a couple different ways. So first of all, like, it doesn't have to be like I said, there's like the same play area that Tova was talking about. There's ways to get involved there. There's ways to also bring your own venue as a popular thing with Fringes. So Avery, you mentioned being all at one location. Well, technically we are this year, but we also do have 2 pop-ups happening throughout the city as well. One at Algoma and one at what is the name of the building that Annie and Michael sing is at? Sorry.
It's the Halen Warehouse on Allen Side Road. So unexpected places for unexpected work, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so there's lots of fun ways for people to get involved with Fringe with bringing your own venue. And in future years, if that's something that you're interested in, reach out to us and we will figure out how to get you involved that way too. And then also from the most Fringe festivals are largely run from volunteers as well. So there's always different ways to get involved, whether it's helping us put up posters, handing out flyers, putting out seats for a show, ticketing. Like there's so many different ways to get involved with Fringes, not just our Fringe, but Fringes across the globe, because they are really run from like that volunteer base. So I think that's another important piece of the history, because that momentum would not have happened without community coming together and being willing to put in that effort to make these shows happen, so that it costs those lower barriers to access for artists, so that you're not paying a whole production team to put out seats and to do your box office. Like all of the volunteer power is what makes that possible for artists to be able to start small and to have no experience in theater, but be able to bring their story to the table. So yeah, so I'll leave it there and pass to you, Garrett.
I think both of you covered it pretty well. I don't have anything to add, so I'll pass it back to Avery.
Thank you. Yeah, you covered pretty much everything. Thank you, Caitlin, for mentioning all the different ways of getting involved. I think I do have a question about that, and I think maybe it's important to share it with our audience listening at home, wherever you may be, of what are different ways to get involved with the festival, whether it be volunteering, working with us in subsequent next seasons and seasons after that. How does someone apply to be an artist? What does that look like? With sponsorship and community partnerships, as well as just attending the festival. If you'd like to speak to those things.
Sure can. So Caitlin is right to mention community and how important that is. And if you look around, even just in Ontario, at cities that host Fringe festivals, there is a very clear upward trajectory in terms of what that does to connect community and grow community and strengthen it. For me, and what we talk about a lot as a team, arts are really the heart of community, and embracing that and mobilizing around it, I think can really do some magical things. So we always look for folks to get involved. And you're right, Avery, there are lots of different ways. So if you're an artist and you want to join in the Fringy fun, our artist applications open in January. It is first come, first served. So follow our social media, get on our call list. You can send an email to suefringe@gmail.com and we'll put you on our early bird call out list, if you will. But it's just a simple application process that we have up online. We try to host everything through our website where there are some accessibility supports built in. For folks who have challenges with literacy or don't have computer access or need some extra supports, we can always walk through the applications. Locally, we can print out and bring someone in person a hard copy of the application. We've done ones where we've walked through it on the phone with somebody and they've verbally given us the information that they needed. If there's other ways that we can support someone there, we try really hard to do that so that it truly means that anybody can apply to the Fringe. We don't have age restrictions. We don't have restrictions or requirements around how experienced you are as an artist. We see the gamut from a person who's like brand new, just did something in their bedroom and wanted to, show people, to all the way to professional touring artists who come. And it shouldn't be intimidating. And we encourage that artists take a chance because the professional experience supports everybody and meets them at where they are at as artists. And that includes live in-person performances, and it also includes digital submissions as well. And we have several streams within our application process to make sure that we're always really supporting multiple disciplines, supporting artists from all different backgrounds, and working across different barriers and that sort of thing, and really trying to make it as equal and equitable a process as possible. Caitlin, you did a great job outlining some of the volunteer opportunities. Do you want to give a full rundown, or shall I keep chit-chatting?
You can go ahead.
Okay. In case you didn't notice, folks, I'm the wordy one, so bear with me here. It's my theater kid coming out. So for community, there are some really important ways that you can get involved. The biggest one, as Caitlin talked about already, is volunteering. And it's true that the bulk of the energy that makes Fringe festivals happen is incredible, committed volunteers. We have opportunities to support the festival before the festival happens, community engagement, and getting promotion out there, helping to flyer, showing up at other events, making sure we're doing exchanges on social media. We are rolling out a brand new Fringe Ambassadors program this year, which invites folks to come on board and help us create content for social media, especially if you're young and kind of interested in some of that stuff. As a possible career move, this is a really great way to get some experience there. And as we move into festival, we have all kinds of things supporting the building in and running of spaces, our box office, hospitality, the fun play zone area. We have folks who come on board because they want to support us with capturing data or images or video of the festival so that we can have some archives and remember each incredible festival that happens. I mentioned social media supporting there, as well as filming and some videography. We do live stream. We do try to create reels and different promo clips for our artists. Of course, the really important grunt work of setting up and tearing down, but because we're building in theater spaces, this is a great opportunity for folks, if they're interested in the more technical side of theater, to come in and get some experience and learn what it means to set up a music soundstage or to set up a theater and how to do some of those things. And then, of course, and probably most importantly, is just helping us to get the word out so that folks hear about Fringe and take a chance and come on down. Postering, handing out flyers, those different points of community engagement. And we're always open to good ideas from our volunteers. We don't claim to know it all. We don't claim to be, the beginning and end of ideas. So when every new person who comes in, just like new artists come in and shape the festival to be unique and special because they are part of it, the same thing happens with our volunteers, with our team members, the employees that happen every year as the core team, the volunteers, the Fringe ambassadors. we all shape this festival together, and it really is driven by community, which means we need community around us for it to be successful. So even if you've never volunteered before, even if you've never set foot in a theater or worked at a festival or anything, but you're curious, or high school students if you need volunteer hours, or you just want to get to know some new people and maybe learn something new, it's a great opportunity for folks. And you get to see all the shows. And I think that's really the ticket when you are choosing to volunteer with a Fringe Festival, because you can be at every show, you get to meet the artists, and you get to see the front of what's happening as well as behind the scenes, and it can make it really exciting. We also have our Emerging Artists in Residency program, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about that specifically, but it's also a way for young and or emerging artists to get involved. And that's kind of a program within the festival that we operate, and we're building it so that the intention will be that it happens year round. But again, it's another place to just support artists in their creativity and their growth in meaningful ways, so that they have the support and the resources that they need to be able to develop the ideas from here to presentation.
Yeah, if I can jump in, I don't want to cut you off, Dylan.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to chat about another way to get involved is financially. So because we are a nonprofit and all of the ticket sales do go directly to artists. I don't know if we've mentioned that in this podcast yet, but all of the box office goes straight to the artists. So all of the sales of their tickets, they get all of that funding, which means that in order for us to survive and keep doing this each year, we do need funding. We do seek grant funding, but we also run largely off of sponsorships and Tip the Fringe. No amount is too small. It all matters. It all makes a difference. We have a great team of dynamic youth that have employment for the summer that we're able to employ because of those donations and sponsorships and grants. And we, the Emerging Artists in Residency program, we have some great sponsorship through the Susan Barber Memorial Trust. And they, as we expand that program, looking for other places to support those young and emerging artists. I will say that if you're someone who really likes to support community, we do have special streams for artist applications for equity seeking groups as well as artists from Northern Ontario. So we do all of that funding does provide supports for local artists as well. It is a large part of what we do up here in the North. We do accept artists from who aren't local as well, but there are special streams and supports for that. So any amount that you can donate to Tip the Fringe, and then as well as if you own a business or know someone who owns a business who wants to sponsor us, we always appreciate supports of those various kinds. We're also open to various creative ways of sponsorship. So exchanging goods in kind, or again, no amount is too small. It doesn't have to be like a huge sponsorship for us to be able to partner. So reach out to SueFringe at gmail.com if that's something that you would be interested in as well. So another very important way to get involved.
Yeah, and I think I just wanted to add in terms of getting involved and just being involved at the festival. Toba mentioned a little bit about the application process, which for artists, which opens in January. To anyone that might be a little bit on the fence about applying or anything like that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we get our artists involved in the months leading up to the festival. I think one of the great things about our festival specifically that helps us stand out, just because we are a smaller festival, we can really do that kind of person to person work with the artists more than maybe some bigger festivals have capacity to. And we offer a lot of different supports for artists if they're interested in taking them. Some are more interested in getting involved and want more support, and some are a little bit more autonomous, like they want to work a little bit on their own and take advantage of certain things. But the things we offer are workshop opportunities for artists. We have typically done 4 throughout the summer months leading up to the festival. We offer podcast opportunities for artists to come on and just really be unfiltered and talk about themselves as artists and their work and anything else that comes up. We offer this opportunity on the roundtable. Every other week on Thursdays, we've had artists come on, talk about their show, discuss art, really providing an opportunity to like pitch themselves as an individual artist and hopefully encourage people to want to see the work they produce. We also provide opportunities to do social media takeovers, which we get some of those coming up as well. We offer other supports for marketing. It's really a festival that I think is able to offer a lot of those opportunities for artists to like get involved and stay involved and really feel supported throughout the whole process. Which is what I loved about the festival as an artist and still do as an artist, and what I am very happy to help facilitate as a worker.
Yeah, if I can jump in real quick, not to cut you off, Avery, but I think that's a really good point, Garrett. And what I would also say is that working alongside our artists so that you'll be able to have these skills to use elsewhere. So rather than just doing it all for you, teaching you and walking you through the steps of like, well, now you can go and replicate this, or even someone, if you haven't worked with us, just looking at our socials and how we work with our artists and seeing these roundtables and being able to learn from that yourself and see how you can put it into action for your own small artistic practice or however big it becomes down the road as well.
Those are all amazing ways to get involved with the festival. For those who just want to come and enjoy the shows, tickets will be on sale for live and digital performances on August 1st, which is actually very, very soon. And also at our in-person box office. And I think this year we should be having the option to not just pay with cash, which is super cool for us. So we've talked about the history of Fringe festivals. And Fringe North is, like Tova mentioned, in a very cool position. We're also among Canada's Fringe festivals, which is like the most of any country in the world, which is pretty cool. I would recommend looking at like the CAF Fringe directory, which is the Canadian Association of Fringe Festivals, and includes the ones in the United States as well as the World Fringe website, where you can see all of the different festivals and what dates they occur. So when you're making travel plans and you're like, I like Fringe North, and you can go see other Fringe festivals because we're part of this global network, which is really cool. So we've talked about the history of Fringe festivals and the ways that we can get involved. So I would like to ask for each of you, what is like your history with Fringe festivals and how did you get involved?
I first found out about Fringe festivals as a kid, spending time in Toronto and going out to the Toronto Fringe and to the London Fringe. And as a kind of new, eager theater kid who had only done community theater, to see other grassroots artists doing something in professional spaces. And I don't know if my child lens necessarily understood professional and what that means, but I saw that there was people coming and celebrating this artistry and that it would take over whole swaths of the city and you could go to show after show after show. And it was just so exciting. And I have my parents to thank for that, who took me out to some of this stuff. And that always resonated with me. And as I went through theater school and then returned to the city to try to figure out where I fit in as an artist, the only place that held space for me was Toronto Fringe Festival in a meaningful way. And I think that's, every artist is trying to make themselves known, but it just was such a welcoming space. And that really stuck with me. And I already told the story about how it felt like everybody said to me, oh yes, I know Sault Ste. Marie, been through there on my way to other Fringe. So I bounced around for a while after university. And when I finally ended up back here in Sault Ste. Marie, I said to my parents, who were so important in connecting me to Fringe in the first place, I said, I really wish that Fringe was here in the Soo. I feel like we're the perfect place for it, being this kind of central hub on the Trans-Canada Highway, and also a border town, and a really busy border town. You know, there's no reason why it couldn't work here. There's so much incredible, diverse art happening in English, in French, in other languages. This should be happening here. And my dad, who somehow knows everybody, said, I have someone you need to talk to. And there was another person in town who had worked with Edmonton Fringe, who was really excited and passionate about trying to get something going here. And so we just began meeting. And most of that looked like hanging out in my backyard, spinning grand ideas, until we invited a couple other folks on board. So this is back in 2015, and just started working. And we were able to get to a point where we incorporated as a nonprofit in 2016 and mounted our first festival in 2017. So I feel really, really honored to be one of the co-founders of Fringe North and to have been able to be part of it since inception. And I think that, you know, Avery, you talked about taking in other fringes and seeing what that looks like across Canada. I really encourage folks to go to different fringes and then tell us about your experiences, because it helps us all to grow, and it really means something. You know, it really means something that all of these fringes are connected. The Canadian Association of Fringe Festivals has helped me learn and grow as an artist and as a professional, and us as an organization in ways that wouldn't typically happen when you're working in the arts, because I find that it's often quite divisive. Everybody's competing, and fringes are about community and about connection. And that's been really a driving motivation throughout all the work that we've done here at Fringe.
Yeah, so my story is a little bit different, or very different. I actually didn't know what a Fringe Festival was before I got hired. So coming out of the pandemic, I was going through for my Master's of Theological Studies to become a spiritual development life coach. And the place that I was coaching with actually had to downsize throughout COVID, and I ended up not being with them anymore because it was just too difficult to juggle one office for 3 people. So I ended up without employment after just having graduated in May 2020. So I ended up going to the Sioux Career Center. So shout out to them for their youth programs. And they found me actually a couple of placements, but throughout COVID, I think we all kind of had that time of self-reflection in one way or another of like, what do I actually want to be doing with my life? And like, what does it all mean? Like there was a little bit of like introspection going on during lockdowns and whatnot. And I found out that I am very entrepreneurial nature. And then also thinking back to my youth, like I used to run backyard talent shows with my friends, and we would actually donate to like the soup kitchen, or we did the hospital a few times as well. And that was like an important part of my like childhood growing up, that I would oversee these coming together of everybody bringing their own acts, essentially basically a mini fringe festival in our backyards, and raising funds for various causes. And then throughout high school, I actually was part of a band that we toured to Elliott Lake, which was really exciting when you're a teen. I know it's kind of small, but we did 3 shows at Elliott Lake, and it was like the best part of my high school experience. So coming out of COVID and reflecting, I actually got placed somewhere else first. And then I was just like, this doesn't feel right. And as soon as I heard about Fringe, like I looked at what it was and was like, this feels right. So I accepted the placement. And then I've kind of been here ever since, and it's just been really exciting to get to be involved in the arts and also use like in my role, especially right now, like I wear several different hats and do very many different things, so it is very definitely like that entrepreneurial nature of just whatever you do, you got to do, you just do it. And so it has like that feel, but the art side too, so it has a really good balance of different pieces within me that get to come together at Fringe. So yeah.
Yeah, I have deep familial roots in theater. When my family came from Eastern Europe to Western Canada, my great-grandfather was very involved in the Ukrainian language literary and theater movement there. Then his daughter, my grandmother, was very involved in theater and passed that love on to my mother, who passed that on to me. So I was I guess from an early age, kind of destined to go into at least a little bit of theater, to dabble in it. I was put into plays. I think the first play I did, I played the Nutcracker when I was like 5 years old or something in kindergarten. But then I did, community theater. It's mostly musicals in a smaller city. So I did musicals. I can't sing or dance, but I was able to get casted in roles because I think I had a love for it, and I could act a little bit, which compensated for my no rhythm. Um, anyway, so I was involved in doing community theater. When I went into high school, I did theater there. I was very involved in the theater program at high school. I went to an arts high school. um, I knew of fringe festivals while I was in high school. I think that was that was in North Bay. Tova mentioned On the Edge Fringe in North Bay. That was going on. It started basically when I started high school, so I knew people that were involved in it, and I had seen a few shows when it was sort of in its development stage. But I didn't really know what it was aside from like small non-musical theater, and I thought it was great. And I kind of lumped it in with the same. There was also a movement of like slam poetry and stuff going on in these like little found venues. So that Fringe was all kind of tied into that kind of countercultural arts movement for me. Um, and by the time I got into grade 12 and was ready to go on to university, I was sort of like, I didn't think that theater was actually a viable career option, especially in Northern Ontario. You don't have much experience with what professional theater even looks like. It's like I would go to Toronto and see shows, but that seemed so out of reach, and I didn't know there was anything else. So I was ready to go to Ottawa, to Carleton University, to do a degree in international relations. Um, I was looking to be a foreign correspondent. That was what my interest was. And I had a group of friends who did Sears Festival, and were really interested in doing the show that we did in Sears Festival in the Fringe, in at On the Edge Fringe. Um, and we got a slot, and then the project ended up kind of falling through, and I ended up with the slot because no one else wanted to do it. I said, okay, I'll take it. I'll figure some project out to do. I actually ended up that time also getting another slot. So I was in possession of two slots in the festival. And I had no idea what to do with them, but I had this like story that I mentioned earlier about, it was mostly like this image of someone being like very emotional over this relationship with a penguin, with a dead penguin. That there was like this image that was burned into my mind, and I had no idea what to do with that. But then I had this slot, and I said, okay, we're gonna take this like final image, which still ended up being the final image of the show, of like someone in the snow weeping over this dead penguin, and we're gonna like make a show out of it. Um, Very fringy, a show that, like I said, would never be produced otherwise. But we did it. People came. People really liked it. I was able to make money for the first time doing theater, which was a bizarre experience to me. I said, "Oh, this was professional theater." I'm getting paid to tell these bizarre stories that are in my head. Um, and I had a few people that came and saw the show that asked what I was doing because they knew I had graduated high school, and I said, "Well, I'm going into international relations, yada yada yada." And a lot of people were saying like, "What are you doing? You need to go into theater. You're wasting your voice, whatever." And after that festival, I ended up switching my degree, and I switched to the University of Ottawa. did a year there studying theater. Then I switched to York University. I studied theater, specializing in playwriting. Went on to do my master's in theater. And it has been 8 years of Fringe festivals from that first year. I haven't stopped since that first one. So it was like really, that first one back in 2017 was just the discovery that I could make money doing theater, and like unapologetically telling my stories. And now I'm here. Now I work for a Fringe festival too. So it's all great. It's all amazing.
Amazing. I think I have a kind of similar experience to Garrett without like the 5 consecutive years. Um, and as well, this is where we can talk about the like emerging artist in residency program, because that is how I first got involved as an artist in Fringe festivals. So I think prior to the pandemic, I had attended Fringe North, and seen a few shows. That's what I think really got me like, whoa, like solo shows are so cool. I recently got to see more at the Toronto Fringe Festival, although disappointingly not as many as I would have liked to. Um, but for me, so the pandemic hit when I was in grade 11, a week after we did our like big school musical where I like was Violet, and I think like Garrett, like I could like get those roles based on acting and like commitment, but not necessarily having any sense of rhythm. So and like painting the benches and stuff and making some of the set pieces, which is I think so much fun. So I kind of missed out on having like theater like my last year of high school. It was such a hard decision for me, like all through high school, like, oh my goodness, should I do theater? Should I be a plant scientist? Should I do something else? So in kind of uh so I was going to school for theater, like I just had applied for that in like grade 12, and then at the end of my high school time, that is when I got involved with Fringe North as an emerging artist in residency. So the emerging artist in residency program, I think began that year in 2021 and has happened ever since. So for that year was an all digital festival, and I got the opportunity to write a little play, perform it with my friend, do all of the like props and sets, and get support from Toba specifically with like, how are we doing this? And then getting, uh, I think the really good thing, especially when it was the digital format, was having a space to perform it and record it in, having someone to film it for us professionally, having our little microphones and all of that. So we could have like a really professional quality Fringe show, and then also yeah, the first time getting paid for doing art, which is like crazy because you're like putting so much work into it unpaid. I think for like anyone really who's in theater and in art, and it's like, wow, this was like actually less work for me. And like I think that's the really awesome thing about Fringe festivals is you can kind of, especially like independently producing theater for one thing, but then also especially with Fringe festivals is just really getting to choose how much work you take on. And that's, I think, why I would really encourage artists to like apply for one, because you really get to make all the decisions and you're not getting censored in any way. So being mindful of the time, because we do have a team meeting at 8, I think I'll let everyone just kind of conclude by saying, what is an interesting thing about Fringe North that you think anyone thinking about coming to the festival might want to know?
You mean besides all the interesting things that we've already said? Honestly, I think that really it's just take a chance and try something new, or come out and support the arts in a different way than maybe you've done in the past. Or if you're an arts lover, to get involved in a way that maybe you haven't before. The thing that I really want people to understand about Fringe North is that we talk a lot about professional opportunities for artists of all experience levels and abilities and diverse backgrounds and the whole gamut. But at the core of it, what we are trying to do is create that connection, and that means community. And so we would just really want folks to take a chance on Fringe and come on out. We price our tickets with accessibility in mind. It's pay what you can, with all of that money going directly to support the artists. If you can't or don't have the extra budget but want to come anyways, just reach out to us. There's always a way to come and see the shows, and cost should never, ever be a barrier to the arts for anyone. And that extends to our audiences as well. And that accessibility piece, I think, is really meaningful for me in terms of the work that we're doing. And it's a piece that I try to share a lot with folks around us as we build this community support. The money matters because it goes directly back to support incredible artists. They don't have to be working in some huge venue in Toronto to feel like their work is valuable and valid and worth being paid for. Everybody here talked about feeling like they couldn't be in the arts professionally because it's not a real career, or there's no opportunities, or it's something you just do on the sidelines. Well, we are changing that. We're joining a bigger movement to work to change that. And audiences are a huge part of that being sustainable and successful. Your bum in the seat at Fringe means that an artist goes home feeling supported and validated and like their work matters. And they have a little bit of extra money in their pocket now to be able to go forward and do one more show and do one more show. So that accessibility piece and that supportive community piece, those are the reasons to stand with and behind Fringe North. And then when you take that step and come to the festival, then it's just all the fun and the play and the hilarity and the surprises, because it's really a fantastic time. And the artists just bring it, every single one of them. And I'm blown away every year by what they bring. So definitely encourage everybody to come out because community, and because you want to support people in your community, artists in your community, and stay because it's just really fun.
That was very well said. Yeah, I would encourage everyone that if you're not sure what you want to see, we do have a pitch night happening on opening night. So you can come on Wednesday, August 16th and check that out. There will be 12 different shows participating in the opening ceremony pitch night. And then, of course, we do have our program that you can read about and see if shows are going to spark your interest or not. I would also encourage you that, again, our tickets are pay what you can, but we do also have a free pass this year that does allow you to get a free show after seeing 4. So your 5th show is free. And these are what I don't know how well this is going to show up on YouTube, but that's what they look like. And you can use it between August 16th and 20th. And you can see, of course, the final performance is at 7, so that is the last time you can actually use it for a free show. But there is also, if you do use it, you can fill out the back to enter into a draw for a gift basket as well. So lots of fun ways to participate. And if you're not sure about trying out different shows and if it'll be worth it, well, then you can get one for free and try it out and see. And then next year you'll know that you love the Fringe, because I promise you won't be disappointed.
The only thing that I want to add is I'd love to speak to anyone who might be watching that is elsewhere, like not physically in Sault Ste. Marie or has never been to Sault Ste. Marie. I'm saying this from Toronto right now, and I am also not from Sault Ste. Marie. So in contrast with Fringe festivals that are in places like Toronto, where you leave the venue and you're in Toronto and it's just city. Sault Ste. Marie is such a beautiful place, situated in such like we're right by the water. Like I can't express like how pretty the surrounding area is, and it's such a unique experience as a Fringe artist or someone going to a Fringe festival, that like we have this beautiful city that we are running out of. So I guess and maybe I have a different perspective because I'm not from Sault Ste. Marie originally, so I only see it like in this like beautiful picturesque way. But I definitely recommend, if you've never been, to come. The festival's the perfect time to come check it out. You can come get involved with the festival and then also go see all this beautiful nature and meet all these wonderful people.
Yeah, can I jump in, Avery, with my comment that I put in chat? Yeah, so for those of you who haven't been to the zoo, it literally feels like going to Storybrooke for those who are Once Upon a Time fans, because although it is a little bit of a different setup, we've got the water, we've got the woods, it's very that magicalist feel in the zoo.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing those interesting things about Fringe North. I think really there's probably many more that you could only discover for yourself upon arriving and seeing the shows and having that experience of maybe getting something in the refreshment tent and watching a digital show as well, which I think can be quite fun. So thank you, Tova, Garrett, and Caitlin for being here and speaking to all of the things that we could speak about in this time about what people might want to know about Fringe North. Um, and thank you for tuning in to listen. We hope to see you at the festival in person or digitally. As a reminder, the 2023 Fringe North Festival runs August 16th to 20th at the Sault Ste. Marie Museum.
Thanks so much, Avery, and everyone watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See you at Fringe.